Hi, my name is Gustavo Martinez. I've been working with clay for over 15 years. I love working with iron-rich clay, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a small-scale incense burner. Before we start, I'm going to share with you some of the tools I'm going to use. Very basic things that you could find at a local thrift store in the kitchen section. A fork. This used to be a hot potato cutter, but I split it in half and it has some nice sharp edges. Similar function as a fork. A paring knife. Brushes. I like using a stiff brush and a softer brush. On this brush I sanded the edges to make a flat tip that I'll use for detailing the form. A wire cutter for cutting the clay. Some pencils, needle tool, right angle rib, and a round rib. And also in the food section of thrift stores or grocery stores, in the kitchen section, excuse me, a tool. I don't even know what this is used for, but I could use it for so many things. I mostly use it as a paddle. A smooth, this is foam board. You could use cardboard. If you do have a turntable or Lazy Susan, it's very nice to have. This is a sample of what we're going to be making. I'd like to start off with very basic sketches of the form. I'm going to be sharing very basic hand building techniques such as pinching and coil building. Oh, and also very important, water. I'm going to be using some water, a small cup for water. And the clay. I like using iron-rich clay. So this is a 25-pound bag of clay. I'm aiming for about 2 pounds. Start off 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, that's what we'll start off with. I start off with this block and I'm gonna go for the shape of a sphere to get started here. Once I have that, I roll it up a little bit and I use the wire tool again. I'm gonna cut off about 1/4 off and set this aside. Once I have that cut off, I do a thumbs up. I'm going to be using this as a turntable. That way the clay doesn't stick to the table. As you can see, I'm trying to keep it as consistent as possible. Once I get this basic form of a bowl, then I begin to pay attention to the bottom. The bottom right now is very thick, and that's intentional. The final thickness that I'm going for is about 1/2 inch. I'm going for a 1/2 inch because I'm going to be adding to the form to turn it into a head and to put some embellish the foot, which is the neck, embellish that with coils and other add-ons. I go back and I try to even it out. Again, check for wall thickness consistency. So this is what I have so far. I'll begin to work on the foot. Same way that I started the top, I'm gonna do this bottom part. I'll check the rim to make sure that the rim is flush with the surface. Check to see what it's looking like right now, how it's fitting. want to make something too thick for more than one reason. It'll be pretty heavy. I'll set this aside and I'll come back to the top part. Once I get the form that I'm pretty happy with, I need to let it stiffen up a little bit so I could attach them to a consistency known as leather hard. As soon as it gets to that consistency of leather hard, I could attach it. Right before I stop, smooth out the edges just a little bit. I'll check again to see where I'm at with this connection here. Need to bring it in a little bit more here, and I could probably go a little bit thinner on this part. So I'm gonna stop and let this stiffen up a little bit as it dries. It'll get to that consistency known as leather hard. Then I'm gonna attach it, add coils to it to begin to shape the form a little bit more. Here's one that's been drying a little bit. When I touch it, it's not as sticky on the surface. That's letting me know that it's starting to get to that leather hard consistency. I'm gonna shape this one a little bit more like I did the other form. So this has been drying out for at least a couple of hours. I'm gonna paddle this a little bit just to give me a little bit of more of the form that I want, but I'm only gonna paddle it at the top where I'm making the connection. I'm not gonna paddle it. Same thing with this bottom part of it. I'm just gonna paddle it to make it a little bit narrower and not paddle it too much. It's just on the surface. When they come together, it'll be very thick. So to avoid that, I'm gonna cut out a small circle of the center. Set myself up here. So before I connect it, I need to score the surface. For that, I'm gonna use what used to be a potato holder to cut, or a fork. I'm gonna dip it in water. All right, so it's ready to attach now. So I'm gonna flip it upside down, and I need to support it from the inside because I'm gonna be pushing in that foot until I hear that sound, get all those air bubbles out. So now I'm gonna use either the wood rib or the plastic rib to bring this part down to the bottom here. gonna begin to flare this out just a little bit by pinching the rim and get it ready. I'm gonna get it ready to attach a coil. So I'm just flaring it out a little bit and I'm getting this rim thin, and I'm gonna attach a small coil at the top so I can get a little bit of more height here. And I got a small chunk of clay. I'm gonna taper them off so when they connect, the thickness of the coil is consistent. I always make sure that it's a good score. Now it gives me some good height for my hand to be able to hold it. I'm gonna score this top here. And also score this edge here. Pinch gently, then I'll set it in place. I'm pinching just enough so it stays the rim. And once I get to the point where it reaches here, I'm gonna cut in an angle. I'm gonna set it as if it's in place, and I'm just gonna cut in this angle here to make it connect to the other one. Score that. Now I'm gonna pinch it all the way around. I'm getting to a point where I need to stop and allow the clay to dry out a little bit so it stiffens up, and then I'm gonna turn this form into a head from there. I'd like to dry out the bottom a little bit more so the bottom has more structural integrity. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this upside down because the top is a little bit bigger and I wanna stiffen this bottom out a little bit. So I'm gonna just make sure that it's at a place where I'm pretty happy with the overall form. Again, the surface I could change it up, but I just want the overall form to feel like I'm happy with it. Shake that and tap the bottom. And I'm gonna let it rest like this. Make sure that it's level. A way to check to see if it's level, look at it forward like that, and then if it's not level, just kind of move it a little bit. I'm not going for perfect levelness, but close enough. we'll come back to this and get into proportions next.